30 seconds. The January 28, 2016 Longview City Council meeting is now called to order. Tonight, our prayer and pledge will be led by Jack Hicks, Family Life Pastor of Life Bridge Christian Center. Please rise.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I consider it a privilege to come down and offer this prayer to open this council meeting up with. And let me commend you and your council people in the city of Longview, if it's not politically correct to do this right now. But we highly hailed y'all in what you're doing in praying before this meeting opens. So with that, let's pray. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your grace and your mercy that you show each one of us today. We thank you for your loving kindness. But now as we stand here, we lift this council up to you, this mayor and these people, not only them, but all the governments of the United States, from the White House down to the local governments. We ask that they ask for your wisdom, that they seek you at everything that they do. And we thank you for the time that we have to be with you tonight, to be with them tonight in this meeting. And we just lift them up to you. We thank you for all the police departments, the fire departments, the EMTs, every aspect of not only the city of Longview, but all the local governments, all the local cities. Guide them, be with them, watch over them, and we give you praise tonight in your name. Amen. Amen. Would you pledge allegiance with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Pastor Hicks, you consider a privilege, we consider a blessing. Thank you, sir. Tonight's employee recognition is a little bit different than the normal ones we do, but bear with me, please. This is in regards to the events leading up to the rescue of a drowning victim on December 29, 2015. During the early morning hours of December 29, 2015, two of our city employees currently assigned to the Longview Fire Department participated in the daring rescue of a female drowning victim in southern Upshur County who had driven into a flooded section of roadway and was unable to exit her vehicle before it submerged. Firefighter medics Stephen Winchell and Joseph Pilko were part of a contingent of emergency response personnel who risked their lives that morning by assisting members of the Big Sandy Police and fire departments, as well as other response agencies from Upshur County in an effort to save 58-year-old Peggy Hagler. These two firefighters braved rushing floodwaters that were roughly 45 degrees with an ambient outside temperature of 36 degrees in very low light conditions. Water visibility was also extremely diminished due to the silt and debris as a result of the active flooding conditions. Winchell and Pilko daringly made their way to the vehicle, which was some 30 feet from the nearest safe area, with the assistance of another firefighter from Big Sandy to search for and ultimately retrieve Ms. Hagler from her submerged vehicle. Upon removal, the victim was unconscious, unresponsive, and pulseless. Resuscitation efforts were initiated immediately after extricating her back to the safe area of the roadway. While still on the scene, medical personnel from Champion EMS were able to restore the pulse on Ms. Hagler. She was admitted to the ICU at Mother Frances Hospital in Tyler. Despite all of the efforts of the emergency response personnel and hospital staff, Ms. Hagler would later succumb to the injuries she sustained from drowning. But the actions of these two city employees from the fire department directly contribute to Ms. Hagler's at least a fighting chance for survival from this terrible incident. Firefighters Winchell and Pilko exemplified the public safety concept of risk a life to save a life. And although this particular event did not have a long-term positive outcome for the victim, it does reflect to our high degree the quality of employees that are among the ranks of our city as a whole and their commitment to putting others first in the nature of this service. Would you two gentlemen please come forward? We can clap all night long. I can just tell you, you guys are, it's difficult because the outcome as it was. But what we're here to do is to celebrate the efforts of two, remember, off-duty firemen at the time this occurred. But this shows what their DNA is. Their DNA is never going to be to walk away. They're always going to be there for us, no matter what. And we cannot thank you enough for your courage, your service, for your dedication to what you do. And from the bottom of my heart, and I know the Hagler family feels the same way, you gave this lady a fighting chance that she would have never had before, and you gave them peace. And I thank you from our city and from all those here. We appreciate what you do, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you, guys. You're heroes. Thank you. Does this not make you all proud? It makes me proud, very proud. Why is everybody taller than me? I don't get it. Okay. We're to citizen comment. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of speaker cards tonight, and we're happy to have them, and we're happy for you to be here. But we will adhere to our strict time limits tonight, or we'll be here till 10 o'clock. So please take note when you come up to speak. There's a little lighted area right there at the end of at the counter. When it buzzes, I'm sorry, I will have to ask you to stop, okay? To be in fairness to everyone that wants to speak, because we have a number of cards that want to speak now, and we're happy to hear from you. But please adhere to our time limits so that we will all get through this as quickly as possible, okay? Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your participation. And there's no particular order here. We'll just start. Mr. Bill Perrymore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilperson. And it's an honor to follow those two firefighters because I spent 29 years of my life with the Longview Fire Department, and the gratitude and all that y'all show to them is terrific. I'm here tonight to, I guess, kind of throw a little objective out there to the agenda item tonight, in which the fire code is to be turned over to the building official. It's on the agenda. Mr. Willard will make the presentation to you. I, as a former fire marshal, and also in my years of the service, I said, with the fire department, which was 29, I spent 14 of those years in the fire marshal's office, 10 years as the fire marshal. The fire code, I was part of the first team to be part of the adoption of the standard fire prevention code, and we got it adopted, and it helped tremendously in the building aspects throughout the city of Longview. We had issues. We had builders who would come to us and basically say, hey, we don't need to do that. Yes, you do. It's in the fire code. And they would make threats to us, just like I'm sure that happens today. Well, I've got a friend on the council, the mayor's a good friend of mine, or whatever the case may be, you know, and things like that. Now, I met with Chief Stillman and Johnny Zachary, the local fire marshal, and asked them about this issue. Didn't want to come up here shorthanded. Mr. Willard, I think, is a fantastic city manager, and I just think the world of him. But when something touches your heart because you were a member of the first fire code that was brought in, you helped get it through the stages that we had of being rejected by numerous builders and such as that. The annexation of Spring Hill and the fire code all came about at the same time. But we, as a Fire Prevention Bureau, worked hard to make sure that the public understood this. There are buildings that were built prior to the fire code that are still here today and still standing, that if we'd have had a fire code, they would have been built considerably different. I just hope and pray that they never catch on fire. And I'm not ever going to tell you which ones they are, but they're here. But the fire code and the fire marshal office has a tremendous amount of knowledge. And I know y'all have a new building official. I have no idea what his knowledge is toward the fire code. But I feel that turning the fire code over basically to the building official as he being the authority over the fire code, and the experience that you have in the fire marshal's office is not coherent. I mean, you know, he has electrical inspectors, he has plumbing inspectors. In the fire service, you have fire inspectors. That's their knowledge. NFPA codes are tremendous. There's knowledge in Johnny's office up there that they know these codes. And I'm just leery of that fact. And again, you know, that's just my feeling, my gut feeling. You know, something you help create and then you see it you're going back. To me, we're going backwards. We had the same issue. We would have to go to the building official's office many times, meet with the building official, and work things out. And I know one of the other alternatives is, and I was told this, but different people, that, well, we'll just move the fire marshal to the other office. Now, that's not a good thing either, you know, so really that's not an alternative. But to, you know, take a code away from him, especially in the initial concept of looking at initial buildings, and again, on your certificate of occupancy, which is very, very important. A lot of your state agencies depend on your local fire marshal for information and knowledge toward long-term care facilities, and I'm talking nursing homes, assisted livings. They only deal with the local fire authority. They don't deal that much with the building officials. So, again, that's just kind of my feeling towards it and everything, but I would hope that y'all would really reconsider this and look at it a little bit different. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chief Harrimore. We appreciate your service to the Longley Fire Department as well. Thank you for all that you've done
It was
for
an
us,
honor.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bart Owens.
Thank you. My name is Bart Owens Jr. I've had a veterinary practice here since 1980. First, as someone who has dedicated his life to relieving suffering and promoting good health in animals, I was deeply saddened by the loss of the pets at the fire at Dr. Kimbrough's office, and my heart goes out to those who still grieve this loss. I am also saddened that this tragedy has been exploited to further an agenda to circumvent fair and open government. No one affected by this ordinance has had an ample opportunity to study it, much less seriously comment on it. I do not oppose some method of fire detection. At the time of this tragedy, we were installing a security system in our practice. My colleagues and my manager asked immediately, does this system have fire protection? And the answer was no. We said, okay, let's get it. And they said, well, not so fast. That's not going to happen. I said, well, why not? Because commercial fire systems are a much different animal, no pun intended, than what you have in your home with the typical ADT system. Apparently, there are 2 vendors in Longview, and I'm sure they're fine companies, that are available for commercial installation. The ranges that from my colleagues that have had estimates so far range from $7,400 to $21,000 for the type of fire detection that's been proposed as I understand this document. So we've been prohibited from providing voluntary fire detection by the same government that now wants to mandate a more costly system. This city, and I love Longview, I really do, has a reputation of making it difficult to do business here. It has a history of some ill-conceived ordinances that had unintended consequences. These happened in the past. 2 examples are the retention pond debacle. Those of you were here when that happened. The second is the backflow preventer monitoring program. I mean, I think both of these have been modified or discontinued. So we have some history to be cautious here. There will be small businesses in leaseholds where the landlord will not comply with this, and those people are going to have to move out. If it's a small place, they may have to go out of business. That won't happen to us. Take some time. Treat your citizens like neighbors, not adversaries. We can work together to make Longview better. Vote no on this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Dan Larrington.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I appreciate the opportunity for us to speak on behalf of our family members that we lost in the fire, and I hope I make it through this. I also wanted to, show our support for this ordinance, whatever type of fire protection it is. Let me tell you about our family member, Lucy. If you watched the news after the fire, or even last night on Channel 19 story, you saw Lucy. Lucy was a beautiful liver and white German Shorthair. You saw pictures of her running through the water, through the pond, hunting and laying on the floor with my son, standing in the field on a point. She was 16 months old. She was with us 24/7. The funny thing about Lucy is she was 65 pounds and she still thought she was a lap dog. Every chance she got, she would try to weasel up into your lap. There's another side of Lucy that, isn't shown there, but she was professionally trained gun dog. She loved to hunt and she was a loyal hunting companion. When I hear talk about the cost to install fire protection, it bothers me. You see, we spent several $1,000s having Lucy trained. She was trained by a professional trainer, and Lucy became an exceptional gun dog. That investment's gone. It went up with the fire. But it was an investment that we're not going to get back. We could have got a lawyer. We could have sued. We could have got restitution. But that doesn't help the healing. It just prolongs it. It was an accident. Accidents happen, but we need to learn from that and not let another accident happen in the future. And I get it. I've owned a business before. Fire suppression systems are expensive. They're a capital investment that does not return an immediate return on the money they invested. But if a provider truly cares about the animals in their facility, then that investment is an investment that continues to pay out in every night they lay their head down on their pillow. They know those animals that they've been entrusted to take care of will be safe in the morning. Lucy's gone. We still love her. She's still in our memories, and we're still healing. Let me tell you about Bailey, okay? Bailey is a beautiful liver and roan GSP. She's already found a place in our family, and she's still in our hearts. Guess where Bailey's at? She's at gun dog training. We're going to have Bailey trained again. When she comes back, she'll be an AKC trained master hunter. I can assure you, when we have to board Bailey, it will be in a facility that provides her the safety and the protection that she deserves. If that facility's in Longview, we'll spend our money here and we'll board Bailey here. If there's not a facility in Longview that cannot afford her the protection that she deserves, we'll take our money and we'll go to the next community, to a facility that can provide her that protection. Longview and the fire at Kimbrough's Animal Hospital made national news. It would be a shame if another one burnt and another 38 animals lost their life. It'll hit national media again, and the people across the nation will go, what's up with Longview? I can see it once, but why did they let this happen a second time? Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Alan Freed.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I did not lose any animals at the fire at Dr. Kimbrough's office. what I lost as a rescue person is peace of mind that when we take an animal to a business, that they are safe. I know Dr. Kimbrough's office, I know his staff, they all love those animals, but love did not keep them alive. We need to have a safety system for these animals when they are placed in there. They're not just animals to people, they are our family, our extended family. Yes, it is expensive. And yes, the people of Longview are generous. I do rescue, I'm a 501(c), and it is with the generosity of the people of Longview that help us save these animals. And we would like to see that if each and every establishment that has a soul alive in them have the safety that they need and require, and that we can rest at peace and know this will not happen again in Longview, Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Kenneth Glaze.
Mr. Mayor and City Council members, thank you for listening to us. And we know that this is a highly emotional subject. And I think all of us are aware that we all know that protective systems are needed. And I'm not up here to talk against an ordinance. I know whatever I say here is going to be used against me and has been used against me, no matter what I say.
Welcome to politics, sir.
Dr. Armstrong and I have been, we think, unjustly characterized as uncaring and care about money only. And I don't think either one of us would have spent 50 years in the animal healing arts if we felt that way. We are business people as well as doctors of veterinary medicine. And like I say, I'm not here to talk against the smoke and fire alarm. I'm going to do it. But I want to do it right when I do it. I think I am here against this particular ordinance because I think mainly because what the rest of us are going to say is when this was developed, none of us were consulted. Nobody in the animal care facility was asked to be in on this. And since it does affect us directly, then I think that we should have been. We should have some input into it. Also, I don't have time to go out and we've had one meeting with alarm people and people that know, but it was for an hour. So that doesn't give you much time to really find out what you're having to deal with and what you've got to do to comply with what the city is going to want. And I don't know how many people know what an NSPA 72 is, but I have no idea. And that's something that we're required to have. And I understand that the alarm people understand that, but we don't. And I think there should be a committee put together representing everybody in the community and let everybody have input into this ordinance. We deeply regret and are sorry about what happened in the past. And I happened to be there when that happened, and I realize how bad that was. But I think we need that committee. And several years ago, I was on an animal task ordinance committee with some council members, and we had people from all over the community, people at large, people that just owned animals. We had lawyers. We had people from the city government. Jeff Heineke was one, and Kevin Cummins. And they walked us through all that and told us where we were wrong and what we needed to do. And that was appreciated. And I was on the animal task force to build a shelter. Same thing happened. So I'm asking you to vote no to this particular ordinance. And let's start another committee, get some other input into this thing, and get an ordinance that we can all live with. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Randy Irwin. Miss Janet Irwin.
Good evening. Well, my husband Randy and I are here tonight on behalf of our two Vizsla girls, Roxy and Reba, a mother and a daughter that perished in the Kimbrough fire while we were on vacation with our family. It was a total shock and devastation, as I'm sure it would be to anyone who has a family member that's a pet, dog, cat. When we got back, rather than picking our two girls up, we picked up their ashes and we took them home. It is something that we feel very strongly about in needing a type of safety system to protect the animals of the future for Longview. Any facility that provides 24-hour care for our animals, our pets, our family members, should have a smoke and fire detection system in place, in good working order, and monitored. Not only would that help alert the fire department much faster than what happened last June, but, and ultimately save animal lives, it would also provide for safety for the firefighters that go out and fight that fire, fight those fires, going in, pulling animals out, trying desperately to revive them. Fortunately, two were revived, and that's a miracle. So we're here definitely in favor of an ordinance, preferably this one. My question would be, from hearing the last speaker, you're just now wanting to put a committee together to study this. This happened last June. If you really cared and you really wanted to make a change and do something, then why wasn't a committee started and we would already maybe have that taken care of? Now we're pushing it to the back burner to waste more time. Don't let us be so naive as to think this could never happen again in Longview, Texas, because yes, it can. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you. Bill Howard.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Bill Howard, and I have practiced veterinary medicine for 43 years. 41 years of that has been in Longview, and the last 36 years have been at West Loop Animal Hospital. I, along with every veterinarian in Longview, was saddened by the fire and loss of animals at Dr. Kimbrough's Veterinary Hospital. For one who has dedicated his life to promote the health and well-being of animal life, the fire was terrible. I know the loss of an animal's life can be very emotional and devastating to its owners. I know that emotion sometimes drives this issue. We as veterinarians would have loved to sit down and talk to city officials about a fire code and detective system. However, we were never given a chance to do that. The process from start until today has been less than 21 days. I am not opposed to some sort of fire or smoke detection, but the process has been so expedited that it has failed to get any input from some of the people this ordinance will affect. Some have mentioned that the cost would be nominal. $7,000 to $20,000 is not a nominal fee to a small business person. It could easily put some businesses out of business. I hope the council will consider what has been said here tonight. Getting input from all involved is a smart and intelligent way to govern. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Judy Richardson.
My name is Judy Richardson, and I'm here to represent rescue dogs and cats and animals that are rescued. I don't have a personal pet that was at Dr. Kimbrough's and at this fire, but I am very concerned that the pets that have been under abusive and very stressful situations that become rescue dogs that don't have a home or have left that home because of being abused. And then we take them to a veterinarian to make sure that they're in good shape. Lots of us have to leave those dogs and cats and animals so that they can be taken care of to get rid of diseases and things that have come upon them in their dire situations. And it concerns me that we don't have an ordinance that will help to protect those dogs and cats from, and other animals, from a fire such as this that was devastating. I just live very close to that. That night, it was very emotional for me, even though I knew I didn't have a pet there. But I thought if I had had a rescue dog there that had been abused and had gone through a very stressful and dire circumstances, that they might have been included in that at some other time in another facility, because this was a terrible accident, but accidents can happen in many different places and in the same town even. And I just thought, wouldn't it be terrible for that dog to have to perish in such a fashion after having gone through so much and been rescued, and they thought they were in a safe place. And I would like to see us, and I've been very excited about hearing the other people, because there is a lot of disinformation out there, and I wanted to come to hear. And I know that the city council is very astute about getting the right ordinances for us, for our town, for our circumstances, and not just for the people. I know we have restaurants and we have all kinds of suppression systems in them, and make it safe for people that go there to eat. And you never know when something might happen there. And I feel like the animal pets and family members that we have are just as important as you and I when we go to a restaurant. And I certainly hope that y'all will take this under advisement and have us an ordinance, or at least a system put in place that we can make our animal facilities safe for our family members that we love so much, and the rescue animals that we go many miles to pick up. I picked up as far as Maybank and Gun Barrel City. I picked up animals and brought them back, but I knew they'd be safe in Longview. So I would like for us to maybe continue that safety through having some ordinance that will make these animals feel safe and secure after having been through such dire and stressful situations. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Tom Armstrong?
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm speaking here probably more about procedure than anything. This entire ordinance was drafted in secrecy by an unelected, self-appointed attorney and city staffer. This will certainly have great impact on veterinarians and any animal care facility. No one from city staff even had the courtesy to inform any of us. Our first knowledge of it was when we received a letter 48 hours before the first hearing. At that hearing, before the Construction Advisory Board, it was voted down unanimously with instruction for staff to get input from veterinarians and others to rewrite it. City staff chose not to get any input and to ignore the committee and rewrote the ordinance, still in secrecy. I am informed that our only input on the ordinance as written would be at this one hearing for 3 minutes. I'm wondering why we wasted all our time at the other hearing if it was to be circumvented and ignored. Some may think this is a smoke detector. I think that's already been addressed, that it's an expensive system. Some may also think that this will apply only to facilities that keep animals overnight, but as written, it applies to anyone who keeps an animal, whether it be overnight, daycare, or whatever. So that means poodle groomers or whatever. Money doesn't matter, but it doesn't, it's not your money. But please do not be swept up in this rush to judgment. Please do not let the entire process be hijacked by one individual. Please vote this down so we can come together to forge something more workable with less unintended side effects. And finally, I would hope that whenever y'all's term is up, if you have business before the city government, that you're treated with a little more respect than the veterinary community has been in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vic Verma?
Thank you, Mayor Mack, members of council. I'm here to speak strongly in favor of the new ordinance requiring alarm systems and automatic smoke detectors in animal care facilities. When we have a tragedy such as we had at Kimbrough last year, it's not enough to mourn. We must see what went wrong and take action, and that's what this ordinance does. I did want to thank my good friend Kelly Heitkamp for taking leadership on this issue. And I would note to council and to the community that when Kelly came forward with her proposal originally, it was a more ambitious proposal. And we all know Kelly's a very strong advocate for animals and animal rights. But Kelly was willing to work with the community, willing to work with council to come up with a workable plan. And that's what we have tonight. So I strongly urge council to vote yes on the ordinance. Thank you.
Laura Childs?
Thank you. We've met before. We met at our first meeting. I appreciate you letting us speak again. And I just want to say I thank Kelly for bringing this ordinance forward. It's very important to many of us, and I just appreciate what she's done for our family, too. This is Lola. She's our 10-month-old bulldog. She perished in the fire as well. And since this is a public meeting, I just want to stop and tell Dr. Kimbrough, we really appreciate you. This is not in any way against you, your staff.
We're televised, you staff.
Okay. Veterinarians, I love what you do. And this is not in any way against you. I know you care for your animals. Dr. Glaze, you took care of my mother-in-law's dogs. You went to high school with her. I've known of you and been to your office many times. This is just about protecting our animals. I know that people oppose this because of financial hardship, but I just want to state, I know Dan didn't say, thank you, Dan, for what you said. I know that he didn't say how much he spent on Lucy, but I will say that our Lola cost us right under $3,000, probably $500 in vet bills. It's expensive to have a bulldog puppy. We spent so much money because we wanted her to have really healthy, a good quality. She was a champion bloodline. And it is a hardship, a financial hardship, that we're not going to get that money back. I just wish you guys would consider that. I do know that hopefully maybe some of the cost of this can be recouped in insurance premium reduction. I'm hoping that maybe just a few dollars here or there can help pay the monthly cost of this. I know it's expensive, but this ordinance has been amended, and I just urge you to please consider it. I think it's really important for our community. I would love to see Longview kind of lead the way and maybe see this happen in other cities. I think it's just really important. People don't speak for the animals. We as Americans spend billions of dollars on our animals. We love them like family. A lot of people think that their voice doesn't matter, so I know there have been a lot of people that have contacted me about this to explain to me that they support this cause but are not here tonight because they don't think it matters, and I really want to say I appreciate what you guys do for us. It is difficult. I can't imagine your jobs. And I want to say thank you to everybody that's in support and here tonight. Thank you.
Brian Fogel? I think I missed that, didn't I?
It's Foy, but that's
I
okay.
did. Sorry about that, sir.
That's okay. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I just wanted to stand up and defend our profession. I'm a veterinarian. I own Longview Animal Hospital on the south side of town. And the biggest thing for me is it just pains me so much to hear some of the things that have been said about Dr. Kimbrough and Dr. Armstrong and Dr. Glaze. No one here cares more about animals and has dedicated their life to helping animals like veterinarians have. We take an oath when we get into vet school. We take an oath when we graduate from vet school. Pets are our life. They're our family. They're our friends. They're our patients. We love animals as much or more than anybody in this room. I can promise you that. Nobody gets into veterinary medicine for the money. I can promise you that too. We go to the same amount of schooling as human doctors, and we get paid about 10% of what they get paid. I will never, ever pay for the $800,000 it cost me to become a veterinarian. I don't think I'll live that long to make that money back. It's a passion for us. We love our patients. The day after the fire happened, we all were calling about fire alarm systems. The issue has been, we could, for $300 to $500, we could add a fire alarm that would contact the fire department as soon as smoke was detected in a building. But what this ordinance is proposing, and what we're made to do, because we're a commercial business, is spend anywhere from $8,000 to $25,000 is the estimates that we've gotten. And you know, none of us, we all met last night as veterinarians. None of us oppose putting in things that would save animals' lives. But I think the way that it's written right now, and the way that I guess the laws are written of what we would have to do as businesses, it seems a little bit over the top. Our business is a small, tiny business, and we have to put in flashing lights and pull downs and all these things that would not save one animal's life. What would save an animal's life would be a detector that would call and alert the fire department if an issue happened at our building. My building is 70 years old. We've never had a fire. It's not an imminent danger. I know it's been months since it's happened, but I feel like we need a little bit more time, a little bit more input from the veterinary community. I do agree with some of the doctors that spoke. The way we do not oppose putting this in. All of us want to do anything we can to save a life, but we oppose the way it's been, the way that we haven't had any input. It has been rushed. We're all looking into it. We have all been looking into it since the day it happened. And I would just ask that a little bit more time be given, a little bit more input be given from the veterinary community. Like I said, I'll say it again. I mean, we are the advocates for animals. We take that oath when we're in vet school. We love animals more than anybody here. Put your money where your mouth is. I mean, we have dedicated our lives to these animals. And you can ask any of the thousands of animals that come to my clinic, you can ask the owners how much we care, how much we cry when we have to put them down. This is an emotional issue, I understand that, but I just think we need a little bit more time. I know, I appreciate the comment about how it's already been several months, but the veterinary community has not been treated very well in this, and it pains me the way that we've been talked about during this and almost been painted as bad guys when we're the ones that have dedicated our lives to helping animals. And I want it to be done, and I want it to be done right, and I want it to be done fairly, and that's all I ask. I would say vote no to this, and let's reconvene, and let's get it done and get it done right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mary Bright.
Mayor, council members, thank you for listening to all of us. I did not lose any pets in the Kimbrough fire. I have been a veterinary technician in Longview, Texas since 1999. I worked for Dr. Kimbrough from 99 until 2004. I know several of his staff. I know several of the clients who lost pets in that fire, and it was really just devastating. Most of those pets weren't pets to those people. They were their children. And they left them at Kimbrough in good faith that they would be able to pick them up and they would be able to come home, and they weren't able to. So I think I just want to say I want to be a voice for those pets. I want to say that I am for this ordinance. I think that we need to do something like this. I think we need to learn from our mistakes. That fire was truly an accident, but now that that accident has happened, we need to learn from that and we need to move forward. And we need to do something positive out of this horrible tragedy that happened. I know a lot of these veterinarians are talking about cost, and I completely understand that. Most of these guys are small business owners. Nobody becomes a veterinarian to become a millionaire, that's for a fact. But You know, if the lower end of the cost is, you know, somewhere around the $7,000, $8,000 mark, you could easily spend that on a piece of medical equipment that we use to run the practice. So I just want y'all to truly consider this, and I really want y'all to vote for this and, you know, just be a positive change for Longview. Thank you.
Thank you. Rhonda Lawrence.
I also, I have friends that were victims of the fire, and I knew Lucy and Lola. I'm here to support the ordinance requiring fire alarm systems and smoke detectors in animal care facilities. I can't imagine losing a family member to a fire. Our animals are completely helpless. They depend on us to care for them and to protect them. Their lives are priceless to us, and I hope that we can pass a monitored fire alarm ordinance to help protect them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dawn Childs.
How you doing, Mayor? Hi, Council. Obviously here in support of the ordinance. Can I speak freely? Ask some questions?
We can't respond to you, but you can ask all you'd like.
That's okay. I guess I'm disturbed. I'm very disappointed that as a veterinarian pet facility group, there's been no movement. Nothing happened as a group in 8 months. So we, as clients and customers, what are we to think? If this didn't happen, if this ordinance wasn't brought back up, when would it happen? And cost. You tell me an owner out there that hasn't had considerable loss, both emotional and value. So I understand there's a fee associated with this, but there's a fee to loss as well. We won't recoup that. We won't recover that. We won't see any part of that. That's not what this is about. We're up here and we're asking people, hopefully, this will never, ever happen again in Longview for the value or the emotional loss. Let's be honest. Longview's been lucky, blessed, that we've never had a fire of this magnitude. But now we have. So from here forward, what do? It's not okay to table this, not be able to move forward, work on this for another 8 months or a year or 2 years. Something has to be done, and something has to be done now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. John Sims.
Council, Mayor, Mr. Willard, you need to be down there with me. I'm scared again. I'm here in support of this ordinance. I started working on trying to get a new shelter or get a shelter for Longview about 8 years ago. That's a long time to wait. I understand it'll be ready in May or thereabouts, and something came up a while ago. I remember a few years ago, I opened the newspaper. 175, I believe, dogs had been euthanized. And it was all over the nation. Sometime after that, another 70 or 75 were euthanized. If we don't get this ordinance in and protect these animals, like, I can't think of his name, but like he said a while ago, boy, we don't want another fire at an animal shelter on our record. So I'm asking you to go ahead and pass it tonight. Let's do what is right. Let's work with the vets and not cause them any undue hardship. These things can be worked out, and we need this ordinance. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you, Mr. Sims. Steve Crane?
Mayor and council people, first, thank you for your service. I am coming here tonight and speaking in favor of the ordinance, proposed ordinance regarding the smoke alarms and detectors for the animal care facilities. And I can't say anything more that's already been said in support of it. But I think the gentleman couple before me made a very poignant point, and that is we've had 8 months to do something about this. Kelly Heitkamp has stepped up to do something about this. And I just want them to know that I understand that it is a burden to them, and just so that I know I have some measure of comfort that if my pet has to spend the night there, I'm willing to spend a little more money. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Susan Little?
Hello. My name is Dr. Susan Little, a member of the veterinary profession in Longview, Texas. I made a personal decision to install a fire alarm and automatic smoke detection system in my animal hospital. Thank you.
Thank you. Rochelle Shepard?
I'm just here to let everyone know that I'm in support of the city ordinance to the smoke and fire alarm protection for family pets. Thank you.
Kelly Heitkamp?
Council, we know each other pretty well by now, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry that I'm here today. Sorry this is necessary. I wish it wasn't. Mostly I'm sorry that these families had to come before you and relive this horror. This wouldn't have been necessary if there hadn't been people opposing it, I suspect. But they had to prepare, and they had to come up here, and they had to relive it again so they could share it with the community and share what their loss is. I understand that some of the vets want to vilify me. I'll take that. I don't mind. Change is painful. There's got to be somebody to blame. You can blame me. I blame the fire. I love vets. They are the core of my existence. And there's not a vet back here that I wouldn't help if they ever needed me. But I'll tell you this. This is a public safety ordinance. It's not intended to tax a particular industry. And this is not a veterinary ordinance. It's an animal housing ordinance. There are a lot of professions that care for animals on a regular basis, and will all submit to this. I only see a few vets, not all the vets, a few vets showed up and said they need more time. I'm concerned about why they need more time. The fire occurred in June. That was 8 months ago. I presented an ordinance, not my ordinance. I didn't draft this. This is based on the NFPA 150. The City of Longview has adopted the NFPA. This is the most recent provision. I didn't come up with this. This is a result of a need across the country. Just so happens we also need it here. When they say they've not had any notice, they had notice when this fire happened in June. We all did. When they said they didn't have notice, I presented this ordinance to the City Council in November. It was publicized. It was in the newspaper. The vets have had ample opportunity to talk to the council members, to talk to the mayor, to voice their opinion, to secure counsel if that's what they wanted to do. I'm not sure why they didn't. There was an advisory board meeting, and the advisory board elected not to push it. And my understanding, because I was at that meeting, is the vets stood up and said they had no notice and that this would be extremely taxing on their profession. There's no evidence of that. They had notice, And I understand the fees that they're quoting today, they're astronomical. But I've spoken with Walter Chandler, and I hope that he's here somewhere. I've never met him in person, but I understand he's with Longview Alarm, and he actually spoke with the veterinary group. I called him coincidentally after that and learned he'd just spoken with them. He told me that the average facility, it would cost approximately $4,000. He said it could go from $2,500 to $7,500. I don't think that the veterinarians are here today to misrepresent. Maybe they're misunderstanding that we're talking about smoke detectors now and not sprinklers. Maybe they're including that quote. I'm not sure, but it's not $20,000 or $11,000 or anything like that. I've also heard, well, you know, this is the only ordinance like this. There are over 1,200 cities incorporated in the state of Texas. And I have a job outside of this. I haven't had a chance to call 1,216 incorporated cities in the state of Texas to see if anybody else has this ordinance. I know that many other cities have adopted NFPA, and that includes 150. But I can tell you this, in my research in recent years about a fire of this magnitude, I found nothing that compares. Nothing. I don't know what the special number of deaths or fatalities it's going to take to bring the veterinarians, some of them, on board. This was 38. Would 50 have changed their mind? Would 500? 5,000? Is it because we're not a metropolitan area? Because I assure you, if this was happening in Dallas, this would be a no-brainer. I think it's important to also understand this isn't just about the pets. This is about firefighters. I wasn't there that night, but I work with a lot of the firefighters in this community, and I know for a fact that they have oxygen masks for animals on their trucks. They're in the business of saving animals' lives too. And I know a lot of firefighters are animal lovers. And they may be told, don't run into that building, it's engulfed in flames, it's too gone. But if they know animals are in there, they're going to put themselves in harm's way to save those animals because they're human. They want to help. That's what they do. And they love animals. It doesn't matter if you make $50,000, you make $500,000, you gross $1 million. It's not about how much money you put into your facility. It's not how much money you put into your pocket. It's how many firefighters are going to rush into that facility and how many animals have to lose their lives. This is a good ordinance. We've compromised on this ordinance. NFPA 150 requires sprinklers. We've compromised and taken that out as an expense. The only thing left to fight about is whether or not smoke detectors should be required, monitored smoke detectors in facilities that have animals that are unsupervised by a person who is 18 years of age or older. It's really simple. It's not complicated. There's nothing dramatic about it. I understand they say this is an emotional issue. Yes, it's a very emotional issue. The people who have pets that take their time to put their animals before a groomer, a boarding facility, a veterinarian, they love their pets. Love is an emotion. Folks here that are protesting today that say, no, we don't want this or we need more time, they're protesting the same emotion from which they profit. If these people didn't love their animals, they wouldn't be in business. So yeah, it's emotion. I could go for hours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Olivia Dima.
I'm just here today in support of the ordinance that we've been talking about. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremiah Hunter. I have 3 more speaker cards that say they may not want to speak, but if you want to, you're welcome. Keith Lloyd, Ashley Lloyd, or Shannon Perry. Do y'all care to speak? Thank you so much.
I feel the same way. This is Shannon. I support the ordinance as well.
Thank you. I have no more speaker cards. Would someone else like to speak? Walter, please. You'll need to fill out a speaker card when we finish, okay? Please, come up.
Mayor, councilpeople, my name is Walter Chandler. I own Longview Alarms. We're a local alarm company here in Longview. We've been doing business here for 6 years. I was contacted by both sides. I am not here either in support or against the ordinance. I'm here to assist and maybe provide some information that may be beneficial in making your decision. I have done fire alarm at Creature Comforts. I'm trying to give you an example of cost-wise. It was under $4,000. I have looked at another facility here in town that has 2 separate buildings that will be under $8,000. Some of the costs or quotes that individuals may have received without having the ordinance in place, it could be that the company was trying to be sure of what they can cover themselves, but a standalone facility in this city, based on 30 years of experience in this business, and I have 57 active fire alarms in the Longview area, should be between, I'd say, $3,500 on the low side and $7,000 on the high side. It is something that my concern will be is the interpretation of the code, because when the statement is made, smoke system, and I could certainly defer to Mr. Paramore on that action, but we would want to be careful of what we're saying. We need to define that, because that needs to be tied back to a particular code, whether it be NFPA 101 life safety or whether we're just going to make an amendment. So my concern will be the interpretation. The ongoing cost of it, just to give an example with my company, is if you monitor the system, it ranges between $30 and $40 a month and a $100 annual inspection. So here again, I'm just trying to provide numbers for you as you try to make your decision. I certainly, I have pets. I have Creature Comforts boards my pet. She has a fire alarm, but Dr. Howard is my vet, and I feel comfortable with my animal being there. Anytime, from my industry standpoint, and the reason I'm in this industry, is we feel very strongly about life safety and protection of pets and life. So something that would benefit first responders, obviously, we feel like would be beneficial, as long as it is not egregious to the end user. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Another gentleman wanted to speak. Please come forward, sir. Mr. Chandler, will you please fill out a speaker card for us and turn it in? Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I'm Ken Hounsel. I own Judson Road Animal Clinic on the north side of town. I'm a newbie. I've been here 20 years owning that clinic. Compared to some of the other veterinarians here, I want to say a few things. The one, that this is a good group of people, the veterinarians in this town. We are lucky to have these people in this town. We are fortunate. We know the veterinary profession. We know what it's like. We know a lot of veterinarians. We know other cities. I feel very fortunate that my colleagues are in this town with me. They all have a good heart. It hurts me to hear that there is a belief that we're all about the money. That is not the case. Every one of them are going to put a system in. That we've thought about this and talked about it. It's going to be done. I think my concern is I don't understand the ordinance very well. I've read it, but that didn't seem to help a whole lot. So Mr. Chandler's been real helpful. I got some estimates. I looked through them. I didn't understand what they meant. It's like, might as well have been a rocket ship to me. But my point being, I want to do it right. We want to do it right. And if this ordinance is right, great. If it's not, it's a mistake. And I hope y'all understand it well. I don't very well. Dr. Kimbrough is a good friend to me. He was one of the first people when I moved into town in 1994 that welcomed me. And I'm his competition. He didn't have to. He's that good a man. It kills me that those animals died, and I hurt for all these people that lost animals. It breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that they might think that he's about money, or any of these guys. It's emotional. It's very emotional. I'm even getting emotional, and I'm not emotional, okay? We love this town. We love what we do. It's not about the money. If it's about the money, there's other things I would have done, okay? And we hurt for your loss. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Floyd, please come forward.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I did not lose any animals in the fire. I do hurt for those animals also. But I need to say that this was an accident, and we need not to look for a culprit after the fact. either within the city staff, the veterinarians, or anybody. I think when we look for a culprit, we forget that we're looking for a solution. And the solution is what we can do best. The veterinarians have acknowledged the fact that the cost, others have acknowledged that the emotions and the loss of the relationships, but we can have an opportunity here for a win-win situation. The veterinarians have only asked that the process be made fairer, and I think that's something that we ought to do. But even if you do pass this ordinance tonight, remember this, there is no absolute guarantee that will still not be a loss of life for an animal in the city of Longview. Exactly 30 years ago today, 1986, they were about to launch the Challenger shuttle. 2 engineers with Morton Thiokol protested the launch. They said, do not launch the shuttle. It's going to blow up, because the O-rings on that solid rocket booster will freeze up and it's going to blow up. NASA overruled them, and they launched and it blew up, just as they said. They did a big review, grounded the shuttle system for a number of years, and later on they launched, and just a few years ago, more astronauts lost their life when the shields tiles on the shuttle did not hold and burn up, and they lost again. So there's no absolute guarantee, even if you pass this ordinance, there would not be a loss of life. But at least we can have a fair process where everybody can have an input and feel like this is fair, and then we're going to make a difference here if we work together. That we're not looking for a culprit after the fact that's going to change it. A fair process, the acknowledgement of the emotion, the acknowledgement of the cost, all of that would help us to work together as a community to come up with a solution that works for all of us. And I think when we do that, we'll feel better about the ordinance when it's passed, what happens with it, and how it made a difference to prevent the loss of life. Because again, remember, even if you pass it tonight, you won't get an absolute guarantee that there won't be another loss of life. But at least you can guarantee that everybody worked together, had input on it, and they made the difference in that way that they could. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Brandis Jamerson. I am a co-founder of a women's organization by the name of SASSY. My agenda here today is to be more so of an advocate for awareness. And first of all, I do want to say I do apologize, and my heart does go out to all of those involved with the issue that's on the table tonight. But this is more so a part of my purpose is to be to make people more aware of the things, the resources that are available when it's regarding our youth. So in short, on Sunday, January the 31st, My Brother's Keeper, Be Encouraged, SASSY Longview, Journey of a Young Lady, and Thrive 360 will be working together to work with parents and their teenagers to open up the lines of communication and to bring forth awareness on resources that are available for our youth. And I just want the prayers and the support of the city and any information that you can give, given information about 501c3s, because right now we are a grassroots foundation, but without the opportunity to go for grants, we're kind of at a standstill. So if any information that anyone has, and your prayers are very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else?
Me follow up? I still have a speaker card.
But you've already had your time, sir. You can't go back. I'm sorry.
The question was asked how much I spent, how much we had invested in those people.
I understand. I'm sorry, sir. Thank you.
I would.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Amy Bateman, and I loathe, like speaking in front of people, but I'm sitting back here and I'm listening, and I'm just getting so frustrated because I get these vets feeling the way that they do and want a better plan, but my whole issue is with Donnie. Like, it's been 8 months. Why not come in tonight and say, okay, we don't go with this, but here is what I have called on. Here's what I've made a decision to do. Here is what I am prepared to do. It is offensive. It is so offensive to me. I noticed that every single vet that has come up here, other than Dr. Little, which I've never seen you, but God bless you for putting into place what you claim to believe. I love that. So thank you for that. But to me, it's offensive to come up here to have the vet say, you know, oh, nobody loves animals more than we do. I have no doubt that they love animals. That's not the issue at hand. But to me, isn't there a saying like the customer's always right? Have you not heard the people in here? They're all people that are animal owners, that are the parents of these animals. And every single one of them has come up here to tell you, please do this. If it was a loved one, just pick one loved one that you guys have. Your mother. Maybe animals to you guys are not family, but they are to many of us. And if you had one person in your life that you love the most, or something that you love the most that had breath in them, would you ever take the chance of that happening again? The likelihood of that ever happening again to Dr. Kimbrough probably won't. The likelihood would be very small. But are you so sure of that you're willing to take that chance? You're willing to, well, maybe not, but you know it's going to cost $7,000 to $20,000 or however much it's going to be. Are you kidding me? So yeah, it's too much money. Let's just take the chance. Hopefully it won't burn down, because the likelihood of that happening, probably not going to happen. Who does that? That's frustrating to me. And Dr. Kimbrough, love him. I went to school with his girls and absolutely think that he is one of the absolute best. I still take my dog there. But I'll tell you what, I won't ever, ever, ever enter the door of another vet. Now that I know that this has happened, I will never, ever walk to the door, not pay money, not board my animals to somebody that does not put the care of their animals. I would pay more above the money or the inconvenience or whatever the issue is against it. So I find this meeting extremely frustrating, because I would think that we would have a problem with you guys, with all the vets lining up and y'all saying, okay, hang on, only one at a time, because they would all be in such support of this. I find it astounding that the only people supporting this, truly supporting it, are the pet owners. That's disturbing. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once. Okay. I want to thank you all for your civilized discussion, and I appreciate that very much. This has been a lively and emotional discussion. I thank you for your input. We shall move forward. Public safety update. Chief Bishop, you're up first.
Mayor Beck, council members, Mr. Willard. Tonight for my public safety update, I have a few items that I'd like to talk to you about tonight. The first is I want the council and I want the citizens of Longview to know and understand that your police department is concerned with the violent crime that we've experienced this last year. Of course, we had 15 homicides in this last year. 7 of those cases, we have made arrests in those, and we still have 8 open homicide cases that are in various stages of the investigative process. We're going to continue to follow up on all available leads. Sometimes these cases take time for evidence to come in and information to come in, but I just want everybody to know that we're just as concerned as everybody else is in the community, and that we're going to utilize all our available local, state, and federal agencies, any resources that they have to help move these cases through the investigative process and hopefully lead to a conclusion with an arrest. But with that, I'd like to remind everybody that information is valuable to us to move these investigations through the process. We have a certain number of pieces to the puzzle, but we need more pieces that's going to connect other pieces to lead us to enough probable cause to make an arrest in some of these cases. So information is very important, and I would like to encourage anybody that has information to contact the Gregg County Crime Stoppers at 903-236-STOP. We're still getting information, but we need that information to continue to come in. I know we've had some recent fires, and I know Chief Steelman is going to talk about that a little bit in his update. But I just kind of want to let you know what we're doing as far as increased police presence where some of this criminal activity is taking place at. I have shifted around some additional police patrols. We have a special investigations and apprehension unit that is a unit that we use to move around to different parts of the cities to address different crime-related issues. We have moved that unit into this area. We've asked our PAR officers to do random patrols through the area. Our traffic officers, and I've also reached out to our sheriff's department and our DPS officers that if they're coming through the city and they're coming through there to make a pass through the neighborhoods during these times that we're experiencing some of this different criminal activity. We have many ongoing investigations. Our emphasis is going to continue to be placed on drugs and gang activity. We're working very closely with the fire department and the fire department's fire marshal's office to share information and make sure that the information that we have, they have, and the information that they get through their investigations, we get as well. So we have a very good collaborative effort there. And again, we're going to call on our local, state, and federal resources that we may have to move these investigations further. One other case of note, if you remember back during December and January, we had a series of robberies that were occurring around the East Texas area here of fast food and convenience stores, the Sonics, the Subways, different convenience stores. These robberies occurred in Longview, Kilgore, Lindale, White Oak. There was some that happened in Smith County, and there was some that happened out here in Gregg County. We got information through the course of this investigation that led us to a suspect so that we could set up surveillance on this individual for over a week. And the individual finally did rob another location in the 700 block Estes Parkway. That suspect was apprehended that day and arrested. And as we've moved through the investigation, he is now responsible for over 20 robberies that occurred in this area, 13 of 14 which occurred right here in Longview. So this was a very good case for us and very important to get this individual off the streets. And then to close with tonight, back in 2004, the Texas Police Chiefs Association initiated a recognition program where they established 166 best practices for law enforcement agencies. Covers everything from policies and procedures, how you develop your policies, how you carry them out, and how you follow those policies. In 2004, we went through our initial process of being a recognized agency, and every 4 years after that, you have to be reevaluated to make sure that you're adhering to the best practices. And just 2 weeks ago, we had some assessors here that spent 2 days with our agency looking at our policies, our procedures, and then riding with the officers to make sure that we were doing what the best practices says that we are doing. And I'm proud to inform to you tonight that we are once again in 2016 going to be recognized as a best practices agency through the Texas Police Chiefs Association. Any questions?
Just a comment, Chief. I want to thank you for your continued support and all that you're doing to do everything that you can to combat this situation. I know that your resources are out there and you're doing all that you can. We appreciate it very much, and keep at it, my friend. Keep at it.
Thank you.
Chief Steelman.
Mayor Mack, Council, Mr. Willard, thanks for the opportunity, and I want to say I appreciate you, Mayor Mack, for recognizing those two firefighters. I'm encouraged by the fact that both of those guys between them have about 3.5 years on the job, and they are the future of our department, and I'm very excited about that. As I'm sure you're aware by the media, the stories that have come out recently, there's been about a 15-day period of time where we've experienced 9 different arson fires. Now, the pictures you see up on the screen there are specifically focused on the structural fires. There was one other vehicle fire, which makes the 9th one that's included in that. I want to just make you aware that the fire department is exercising its due diligence to pursue and investigate each one of these fires. Each one is an active and open arson case. As Chief Bishop mentioned, we're working very closely with the police department. We've shouldered up. I'm very proud of that fact that we live in a community with public safety is able to do that, because I have peers in other parts of the country where that's not always the case. And the sharing of information is vital in a situation such as this. Not only that, but we'll also, again, ask the community. You can be some of our biggest assets out there just by paying attention. When you see things in your neighborhoods that don't look familiar, when you see vehicles, when you see people, report that. You may think it's nothing, but I promise you, those types of little small leads can make a big difference, especially when we're experiencing the volume of activity that we've seen in the media lately. So we need your help. Crime Stoppers is one avenue. You could contact our fire marshal's office at 903-237-1218 with any type of information. No tip is too small. Last year, we went through a process where our ISO, our Insurance Service Office's recognition was regraded. We go through a grading process about every 10 years. The ISO system is based on a scale of 1 to 10, and these ratings are what directly impact your homeowner's insurance rates. You actually see these, and it's that time of year, you'll see your tax statement will have a little identifier on there that says PPC rating. That's your property protection classification rating. If you live in the city of Longview, you're fortunate the fact that you have a 2 on there. The lower that number, the better your insurance ratings are. And we were recognized, and going through that process, we were reissued our Class 2 ISO designation. And this is an award that we received from the State Fire Marshal's Office, who is a subsidiary of the Texas Department of Insurance, congratulating us on that. Because Class 2 really says a lot about the emphasis that a community puts on public safety, specifically the fire department, the waterworks system, and the public safety communications systems. All 3 of those facets go into that overall score that decides what that rating is. You know, ultimately, our goal in the fire department, we would seek to be a Class 1. Those are the things that you see in the strategic plans that I've handed you. They're the things that you see in the comprehensive plan that we're all working for. And we realize there's economic impacts associated with all of that, and there's priorities that have to be made. But I'm pleased with the fact that we were able to maintain, and I promise you, my commitment to you is that we're going to keep working to improve, to make sure that we're delivering the highest quality of service that our citizens deserve. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just a comment, Chief. First off, I want to thank you for all that you're doing in your department, working on these arson cases. I know it's very difficult, but I have no doubt that you will continue and you will get to the bottom of this, so we thank you for that. I also want to thank you for the way you professionally handled the gas leak this morning, letting me know about it, taking care of it, keeping the citizens safe. You probably don't even know about it, citizens, but there was a gas leak out there on Cotton Street, and the chief and the group worked with multiple agencies, took care of that this morning, and I really appreciate that. And what I really appreciate more than anything is the way you 2 guys work together, because y'all are the top officials in our public safety organizations. And, you know, you have the choice. You can work with or you can work against. And we always know rowing in the same direction is much better than rowing against each other. And I appreciate the cooperation that you all show. It gives peace to the community. I know it gives peace to Mr. Willard, and it gives peace to me as well. And I appreciate that, because we do no good to not work together. And, you know, that cooperation is very appreciated. And you know, whenever I was growing up and my brothers and I didn't get along, my dad had a really good remedy to that. When we would fight or not do the things he wanted us to do, he'd make us just kiss each other on the lips and make up. So I'm giving you all the options. So work together, or, you know, we'll see what we can do with that, okay? Thank you, guys. I appreciate you very much.
Duly noted. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, we are to the consent agenda. Is there any items council would like to remove for discussion on separate consideration?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Now we're to zoning. Good evening, Ms. Choi.
Good evening, Mayor Mack,
We're going to
members
have
of
a
council.
public hearing now to consider request 402.408.
Thank you. The applicant is requesting to abandon a section of an unimproved alley between lots 15, 4, 5, and 6, New City Block 6 of the Hamilton McNutt Survey, located on the west of the intersection of Edith and St. Anne Street. All public utility companies have reviewed and signed off on the proposed abandonment. There is no public infrastructure located within this alley. Staff recommends approval of this request. I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Public hearing is now open. Are any speakers? Any questions from council? Public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Public hearing to consider request filed by James Williams to abandon .050 acres and drainage easement located on the south side of Yosemite Way. Ms. Choi.
Thank you, Mayor Mack. The applicant is requesting to abandon a drainage easement located off of Yosemite Way, seen here in the map, within the Premier Parks subdivision. The applicant would like to make this drainage easement a private easement because it does not fit within their HOA area. Once the drainage easement is abandoned, the applicant will take over maintenance of this drainage easement and dedicate it as a private easement. Staff recommends approval of this request. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Public hearing is now open. Any speakers? Council, any questions? Public hearing is now closed. I'll move.
Move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Choi. I thought we had another page of that. Very good. Okay, we're to action items. Consider resolution accepting the sanitation administrative regulations. Mr. Archer.
Mayor, Council, Mr. Willard, tonight we've brought the sanitation administrative regulations. Now, they are normally approved through the Public Works Director, but since we're doing so many changes, we felt it was important to bring it before you tonight. Based on the meetings we've had before and the input that you've given us, we've made some adjustments to it. So we're moving to a fully automated collection. These will be collected weekly. Now, what we're talking about here is the garbage and recycling. All waste must be inside the cart. So if you have a box, it needs to be broken down and placed inside that recycling cart. If you have bagged up trash, it needs to be inside the cart. We're going to make additional carts available for those homes that need more carts. A small 35-gallon cart will be made available. The small recycling bin will no longer be serviced. The carts, because of the changes that waste must be in the cart, it allows us to allow people to set it out the night before because we won't have the problems with animals that we've had in the past. Improperly placed or blocked, so if they park their car in front of the trash cart and we can't get to it, we're not going to take the time to get it out behind that car. We're going to go ahead and move to the next stop. They must use the city collection cart for these two services. We're establishing some cart storage regulations, which basically says you need to store that to the side of your house or out of view, and allows them, sets that in place. And then we continue our assisted collection service. Now, this service, if somebody has difficulty getting their trash to the curb, this allows them to set it up near their home. To make it as efficient as possible, we ask that it be bagged up, and either if they want to use a city cart, they can place it in the cart. But we want it in bags so we can get up there, grab it out of there, and not have to go, wheel the cart down and then wheel it back. It certainly speeds that process up if we can do it. So that is a pretty quick synopsis of the garbage and the recycling cart collection that'll be fully automated. The bulky item, we made a change in that each resident will get 4 bulky item collections per year. Each address will be provided 4 collections per year. That'll allow us to, if we have homes where lots of people are coming in and out, it'll still be just the 4 for the year. Additional collections will now be available for a fee. Customers must still call for bulky collection. I've never liked that we have to call, but that's really about the only option for us right now, and we're working on some things that'll make that where you wouldn't have to call. And one thing that this service will provide is now those small commercial customers that have never had the opportunity to use the bulky item service, they've got some limbs they've trimmed up at their business. Now they will be able to do it. It'll just be for a fee, and they can call us and we'll get that collected. So that pretty much covers the bulky item. The yard waste collection, this is going to be collected weekly, and we felt like we did need to set some limit so that it was not just something we couldn't manage. So we set a limit of 8 cubic yards, which is quite a bit. There's no need to call. We're going to drive the roads looking for anything that's yard waste. But plastic bags will no longer be allowed. So you'll have to use a paper bag or a reusable can, something that's marked yard waste. And then small bundles of limbs that a lot of times people call in for bulky now will be serviced as part of the yard waste. This is our implementation schedule. Every day we will have extra staff working in area, talking to citizens, making sure they understand what the rules are, helping them size the carts. Do I need 1 or 2? And kind of work with each of the customers. And so it'll be October 1 before we actually get to the point where we say, okay, these are the new rules. But this will give us a chance to actually visit with citizens throughout the city over the next several months to get that implemented. And with that, if there's any questions. Yes, Ms. Cash.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for taking the time to really bring back something that I think we can all work with. Is there an additional price for more than one cart? Or is a resident allowed to have, hypothetically, even though I don't, if I needed an additional regular landfill, is there a price for that?
Yes, it'll be $5 for the trash cart and $3 for the recycling cart. And we'll be bringing that at the next meeting as part of a fee resolution.
Okay, and the fee for the are the fees, were they somewhere in the packet for the bulky item pickup, the additional ones?
Yeah, that was, let me look to make sure we adjusted just a bit.
You can just tell me the page.
I'm sorry, I apologize. On page 51 of your,
Okay, I'm just
of the
writing.
master agenda.
Okay.
And that's where it starts. David, do you recall what the fee is? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's $50 for 4 cubic yards, for the first 4 cubic yards they have, and then each additional 4 cubic yard.
Can you define cubic yards for the public?
Well, it 1 yard by 1. So when we tell people, when people call and say, we say 4 cubic yards, we always tell them it's the back of a pickup truck. So that kind of gives them a feel for what 4 cubic yards is.
And last but not least, the process of rolling it out. Walk me through how you're going to actually roll this out, because I like the talking to citizens, but I'm trying to figure out who's going to be doing the talking and what are the key talking points, so that we can effectively roll this out. And will there be any type of literature? I know there probably will be online, but nothing too busy, something that people actually can read and understand.
Yeah, we'll be doing mail outs. Actually, we've got a committee that's going to get together pretty soon and figure out exactly how we want the media part of that to go.
Okay.
But there will be a lot of information out there for all of the city. But on those days where we focused on an area, then we'll have staff, and so we'll drive the street and we see this customer has just a cart and it's overflowing. We need to spend a little extra time with them and just make sure they understand what the rules are. So it may just be a tag the first time, and just kind of an informational tag says, here's what the rules are. It's got to be inside the cart now. And then just gear them up. And then we'll work that area, and once that area is good and we feel comfortable about it, then we move to that next one. And so there'll be 4 areas that we're working every month. And then once that month is completed and everybody feels comfortable, then we move to the next month in those next 4 areas.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Sir.
The assisted customers, the one-person truck, he's going to get out of the cab and go up and get the bags, dump it in the truck, and get back in the truck and move on.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
there will really be not any change in that, other than he may spend a little bit more time because it won't be the guy on the back getting out. But when we bought the vehicles, we were thinking that there's going to be times when that driver's going to need to get out. So we got the low entry vehicles. It's pretty quick to get in and out.
All right. And second, walk us through the sequence of folks that habitually leave their carts out on the curb. Talk about the letter and the tag. And
Okay. Yeah, it's what we do is we get a complaint. It's complaint driven, and we send a letter, and that letter says, please put it back after collections. And then we get another complaint. Now, if it's been within just the last few months, then we send somebody out there and actually put a tag on there that says that customer has 24 hours to remove it from the curb, or we'll remove it and charge them a fee of $5. And so if we send somebody back out, then they've kind of flagged them a little bit. So now if they get another complaint on that, we won't send them a letter again. We'll go right to that tag again saying it needs to be moved today, or, in the next 24 hours, or we're going to send somebody out and then, of course, send somebody back out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Go over how you're going to handle the Christmas period where there's so much trash on the streets.
Well, there's two really heavy weeks, and that's the week following Thanksgiving and the week following Christmas. And so what sanitation is going to do is we're going to put people on the back of those trucks, and we're going to add help trucks out on those weeks, and we're going to allow people to put extra bags out that they're going to have because of the holidays. And everyone will have a little bit extra, but those are the two times that really are heavy. So we're just going to basically be gearing up and dealing with whatever we see out there. They'll have the 4 bulky pickups, but that'll be a good time when if they have extra bags and stuff that we can get taken care of.
All right, and one other concern, I've had people contact me about that have all kinds of trees in their yards. And in the fall, they fill up a lot of sacks with leaves. We're going to go to just paper. That really could get kind of expensive for people. Is there any way the city is going to try to help with supplying bags, or are the people all going to be?
It'll be really up to the citizen to supply the bags.
Go to Walmart or something.
By doing that, our intention is to save them money in the long run. Because if we can control our rates, then we don't have to have those increases, and then they see that in savings. Now, mind you, I understand that there will be, there are people that's got to be raked. It can't be mulched. It's got to be removed from my yard, and there's going to be a cost for that. But the idea is that cost is not everyone's responsibility. If that person makes decisions at their homes, then the cost is associated to those decisions. And the other lady that she mulches and controls that amount of volume, then she wouldn't be paying for those other people that would have higher volumes. You see where I'm?
Mr. Archer, one question, and I think you've done a wonderful job of trying to explain this and educate the public. And not everybody's going to ever agree on everything, but I think you've been very judicious in how you've handled this. My only concern is with the yard bags, which I certainly understand that. It saves on us at the landfill and all those things. But what do we do, like when it rains and those? I don't know much about the yard bags. Do they get wet? Are they going to break up when you try to lift them to the truck? Is it going to create a mess for you guys? I'm just asking because I don't know.
Right. They're actually designed with a rain shield on them. It's a small layer on the outside, and that it protects the bag from the rain. And so they're relatively easy to handle even after they've been rained on. Okay. You see them in lots of communities, and they swear by them because it maintains its integrity.
Okay, very good. I didn't know, and I wanted to find out. Shihara.
I don't have a question, but I did want to make a comment and commend you and David. I think this is a wonderful plan and really well thought through. I had a number of people contact me with concerns when it was first presented. Every question I brought to you had been thought through, and there was a solution that citizen was happy with and said addressed their need. So I think you've done a really wonderful job. I think the key will be educating people so that they're not surprised on October 1 where we change things over. But I think you have a great plan for that. So I just wanted to publicly say I think you've done a wonderful job. I am personally very excited about the changes that are coming, and we need to remain focused on we have to make changes so that we don't have to raise your rates in the future. And the other positive that we'll be getting out of this is compost. We'll be sending less to our landfill, which is a great thing to do on its own. So great job. Thank you for all your work.
Thank you, sir. Okay. May I have a motion on this item?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Archer. We'll consider an ordinance amending the city's fire code and other provisions of Longview City Code. Mr. Willard.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just the first comment I'd like to make, we have obviously two action items on the fire code here tonight, and I want to distinguish for everyone the difference. The one that we've had most of the discussion on in item number C, you know, that deals with requirements of who sprinkles or who has fire. That changes some of those things in the code. What I want to speak to tonight only has to do with administration of the code, and so that's a big distinction, I think, that I'd like to make, the first distinction I'd like to make. Secondly, Chief Paramore, I have a lot of respect for you too, sir, and your years of service. I appreciate your comments and understand your concerns on that, and I appreciate and respect that view. And he's right, we are friends, and I do have a little different opinion, but I appreciate your view, sir. 8 years ago, when I became the city manager, I think the first direction I was given as a city manager was to try to make Longview the most customer-friendly we can make it in the area of development, and to create that. And over the years, we've been working very hard to do that. And it's hard to have 100% customer satisfaction when you're dealing in development services and regulations. And so, but we are trying to do that, and I believe this mayor and council want me to continue in that direction to make Longview as the development process as fair and friendly, and still provide the safety that we require. And under Keith Bond's assistant city manager's leadership, Michael Shirley and the Development Service Department has worked very hard over the years, and I know they have made a lot of good changes in that, and we are progressing to that goal of trying to be as development friendly as we can. That being said, we're still looking at ways to try to do that, and one area that I, as the city manager, feel like needs to happen in that goal to make this a seamless transition is to make a change in how we handle the fire code as it relates to those regulations within the development process. And I think it's very important if you can think about this as a two-step process. We have a development process where a developer wants to come in with an idea and a plan. A site plan is done. Planning and zoning, all of those things come into view here when you're developing a project. And Development Services regulates and administers about 14 or so different building codes that we've adopted in this process. And so what I'm talking, and then the fire code is not administered as that relates to the development process in the Development Services. It's in the fire marshal's office. So in my opinion, over the years, we really now have two development service processes that I think is confusing and is better served to the public and makes it more seamless if that was all in one department. And because we have 14 or so of the building codes in that department, we feel like that to have the fire code interpretation as it relates to development services needs to be in that as well. This does not in any way diminish after the development process is completed and a certificate of occupancy is issued. Then post certificate of occupancy, the fire marshal's office will continue the full range of requirements that they do post certificate of occupancy, all the different inspections and other things that they're required to do. That won't change at all. We're just talking about the development process to make it more seamless. This is not an issue just for Longview. Every city I've ever been in, it's an issue, and it's hard to get it all just right. I recently read, and I think Chief Paramore alluded maybe to that, The city of Amarillo, their solution was to move the fire marshal's office over into development services. And I agree with you, that's not a good solution, and I think that would not be. But it just shows the fact that many cities struggle with how do we have a one-stop shop and make it truly as seamless of a process as we can. So we have certified fire examiner, plans examiners in the Development Services Department. Our city engineers who calculate water flows and fire flows as engineers are fully capable to do that inside the Development Services process. So I feel like and would recommend that this be done. And I just want to say too that Chief Zachary, our fire marshal, and his department are top notch, and under Chief Steelman's leadership, they are all very professional, and hopefully we do all play well together in all of these things. So I understand the view of the concern that Chief Paramore put forth, but I think for us to go forward and to make this as a seamless process as we can, I feel like that would ask you to adopt this ordinance that would allow the Development Services Department to be, or the chief building official to make these decisions on the fire code as it relates to building and construction process. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Walk me through a little bit of the beginning process, because I'm understanding this is going to streamline the process, right? Okay. So I heard you say the fire marshal will be involved at the end of the process. Is that the way it's going to go? Or is this just basically making it simpler for when someone wants to start a new development, they can get all of their licensure at one time, one place? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But it's not going to at all diminish the authority of the fire marshal?
Only as it relates to the development process. Right now, the fire marshal has full authority as the chief fire official for the all processes relating to the fire code. And we feel like, and we can do and adopt a local ordinance, a local exception to the fire code to allow the chief building official be the designated fire official only to the part of the development. Does not change anything that the fire marshal is responsible for post-development.
Okay.
Which we would define it as once the certificate of occupancy has been granted in the development process and the development services has signed that CO, then after that, in all the commercial buildings that the fire marshal is responsible to inspect on an ongoing basis, the enforcement of the fire code as it relates to all other duties, with the exception of this development process, would not change at all. So,
okay. So it really doesn't diminish the authority so much. It's just, it starts there and then it really shifts back to the fire marshal anyway. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Post construction and development, yes. But that's my understanding, unless Mr. Finley would have, I think that's the spirit of what we've tried to do here.
Any other questions?
May I make a statement?
Please.
Chief Paramore, you and I have talked about this one-on-one, and I appreciate where you're coming from, as does the city manager, and I remember those days that you're talking about. Chief McMaster and you and city administration, we had some growing pains. And this is a difficult issue for me, because I've worked with the fire department for 30-plus years. But sitting up here, it's important that we at least try something new, try to streamline one part of the process to make things go smoother for our customers. You're not going to like the way I vote, but then again, you know, nobody promised me a rose garden. So I just want you to understand that this, I think this is an important step to try. Thank you.
What I want to make sure everybody understands, this has nothing to do with the performance of our Fire Marshal,
no.
Johnny Zachary.
Right.
Johnny Zachary is as committed and focused as any fire marshal you'll ever have in your life. He has always put his job first. He's done a phenomenal job for our community. This has nothing to do with that. This is simply a way to try to make development services more efficient for our developers, and it has no reflection on Chief Zachary's performance whatsoever. He is amazing in what he does. He takes this so seriously, and we commend him, and we recognize that as a council, and the public needs to understand that. This is not a reflection of his service or his performance whatsoever. None of that. What this does is makes us hopefully a more development-friendly community and environment, which is what we're all striving to do. And you know, we've seen a lot of examples of this in the last few months. I know I see it frequently. I get calls and emails all the time. I had two today, two separate individuals recognizing the fact that they had exceptional experiences with development services today. And those are things that we need to see and we need to hear. And, you know, I had the developer, the builder of BJ's in my office. And I didn't know the man from anything. And he didn't know me, but he did know that I was the mayor. And he told me that, you know, BJ's had been wanting to come to Longview for a long time, but they always shied away because they were afraid of how hard it was to work in our community. They've heard stories, and you know, the Tyler one was great. And I said, you know, just give it a shot. You see what we've done. It's different. It's going to be a better experience for you. And he's come back to me and he said this experience with Longview and his development of BJ's is far and away the easiest building experience that they've ever had in any BJ's that they've ever done. And I appreciate that, because that means we're doing what we're putting our money where our mouth is. And I want to commend you guys. And I'll beat you down just as bad when I get the complaints. But, you know, we've got to be realistic here. We'll never make everyone happy. But as long as we're being consistent and doing what we try every day, and that is a customer service friendly attitude, Longview is going to continue to grow and develop. And that's our goal, and it should be you all's goal as well. So know this is a streamlining process, and I think it's going to hopefully work. You know what? And I've said it before, we'll continue to try things, and things that work, we'll do. Things that don't work, we can always change that. Nothing is in stone. So this is a very liquid council, and I appreciate that in y'all, and that we're not afraid to step out and give something a try. If it doesn't work, we're going to be the first ones to say, it didn't work, let's go back and find out what didn't work, and let's make it work the second time. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is doing nothing, and I've said that a million times. I'm not okay with that. So thank you, and appreciate you all bringing this forward. Any other discussion? Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consider an ordinance requiring fire alarm systems, automatic smoke detectors, and animal care facilities. Mr. Shirley.
Thank you, Mayor Mack, members of council. Mr. Willard. The ordinance before you, as many have stated, was based on the tragic events that happened there on Judson Road last year. As Ms. Heitkamp stated, she came before the council to propose an ordinance, I believe it was in October. And what you have before you is the city version of that ordinance. And what I mean city version is it's gone through our city attorney's vetting process and been put in the proper terminology to be legal and consistent. The process that this ordinance has to go through, because it is fire code and construction related, it does have to go before our Construction Advisory Board, which it did before January 13th. At that meeting, many of the people here spoke at that public hearing. That Construction Advisory Board, Construction Advisory and Appeals Board, did vote unanimously to not recommend the ordinance. Many of the comments, I think, for that reason were simply more government. I don't know that it was specifically the ordinance itself. It was just additional government regulation. As was stated, to address their concerns about the short notice, These type of issues don't require the personal notification. However, we did send letters to all the ones that we, could get information on. Those letters went out the week before the meeting, as soon as we knew that we had a quorum for that meeting. We didn't want to send out letters in advance of something that we didn't have scheduled, and we had a tough time scheduling that meeting. However, I'm just here to answer any questions that you may have. As stated, the definition of animal care facility is a facility that would house animals that would be unattended, not just overnight. So anywhere where they would be unattended. That could be offset by having someone there that was 18 years old or older. And what we're talking about is specifically fire alarm systems and the automatic smoke detection. The original proposal that did include the automatic fire suppression systems, that has been removed from what's before you tonight, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Finley, does this require a public hearing?
I think we've had most of that, yes.
Sir,
Normally,
thank you,
we've
sir.
So you probably might want to open it if there's any additional, take those members that have already spoken.
Okay.
And if there's anybody else that hasn't spoken.
This requires public hearing. It's now open. Is there any speakers that would like to say something, hasn't already said something? Okay, council members, discussion?
Michael, what happens if there's a pet store and a strip center in my district? What happens if the landlord won't allow them to put in a system like this?
That would be a difficult situation. I'm not sure, depending on how their lease is written and so forth. However, as with all of our construction-related ordinances, they do have the ability to appeal for various reasons, for hardship or just a difference of opinion through our Construction Advisory and Appeals Board.
I don't have a question, but I would like to make a comment.
Please.
So I'm sorry to add to the length of the evening by doing so, but I did want to comment because I am ready to vote tonight as opposed to tabling the issue, and I felt like I needed to explain my position. Dr. Owens is my personal vet, who I love very much. Dr. Howard saved the life of my baby, so I have ultimate respect for every vet that's been here tonight, and Dr. Glaze I love and respect as a dear personal friend. So I wanted to be upfront about my reasons for voting the way I'm going to vote, as well as make sure that there's no doubt about the commitment that we feel the vet community has to our community. I know and respect all of you and have spent a lot of time with many of you that have given back to the community through serving on a number of task force committees for ordinances, for the shelter, and so your commitment to the community and to the animals in our community I don't think can be questioned, in my opinion. I think there's no doubt that what you're here for is for the animals and to give back to our community. So I just wanted to explain why I'm ready to vote tonight, because we as a council I think take seriously, and I take seriously, anytime anyone makes a comment that we haven't provided enough time for input or we haven't been transparent about the process. So I'm sincerely sorry that anyone feels that way ever, because it is important that we take time to hear everybody's input, receive information, be as open and transparent as possible. And I think that's important to all of us as council members. The reason I'm ready to move forward tonight is because the ordinance that was originally presented has been pared down. We are adopting a model ordinance that has one requirement. So I think truly the only option is either we adopt that one thing or we don't. I don't see personally that there's any compromise in the middle of that that could be reached. So I think it's just either a yes or a no, and I don't think we do anybody any favors by wasting time and asking people to come together and continue talking about it. So I just wanted to be upfront about that. I respect everyone that spent time here tonight, and I really appreciate everyone being involved in the process, and I'm sorry that people are going to feel that way, but I just wanted to be upfront about that and make that comment.
Thank you.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
The term fire alarm system and automatic smoke detection system, are they synonymous? Mean the same thing?
No, sir. The fire alarm system is the panel and the mechanism that sends the signal to 911 or to alert of a fire. Many times It's tied to a sprinkler system that goes off, and that sets the alarm. The automatic smoke detection is the additional portion that triggers that fire alarm.
Okay.
I just want to make a comment too. To me, it's a little disappointing that we've got two groups that I think want the exact same thing. Everybody here is for the animals, wants to protect the animals, loves the animals, and it's become kind of an us against them kind of thing. We had here back in November, I guess it was, the city voted to turn Hensley Park over to the city council to make a decision to sell I guess you could say, sell the park back to the original landowners once a new park is done and it meets our objectives. The group that wants to buy the current Hensley Park went out and brought together their biggest adversaries to form a committee to see how they would develop that area. I'm a little disappointed that the same thing wasn't done here, and I wish in the future it would be done on any of these kind of things that come up. I'm sure that trying to get all the vets and all the other people together that are involved with animals overnight is kind of like trying to herd cats maybe, but I think that could have been done. I'm a little disappointed it wasn't done, but I agree with Kristen. I really don't know where we go from here, so I guess I'm ready to vote tonight and see what happens.
This is a very emotional issue because it affects feelings, and it affects everyone that has a pet or loves a pet. And I am not a big government person. I'm not. I've never have been. I've never claimed to be. I am a public safety person. I've always adhered to that if you'll go back many, many years. And in this day and age, where we are in society, and I know every one of the veterinarians in this room and those that aren't here, first off, I want to say I know what dedication you give. I know the sacrifices that you've made. I know the financial burden that you've had. And I know that you love your patients, just like anyone in the healthcare profession does. But in this day and age, people consider their pets their family. And you all consider them your family. I know that you do. I know Dr. Kimbrough does. I know Dr. Glaze does. He's taken care of my pets since I was a kid. And I have utmost respect for every one of you here. And I know you consider your patients your family. Just because they have 4 legs or wings doesn't mean they're not. And I appreciate that with what you do. And therefore, this throws this into a public safety issue that we have to decide on as a council. I hate that it's going to cost you anything, and I wished it didn't. What I am glad is that this group or this ordinance has been changed such that the burden of a sprinkler is not in there, because to me that's a game changer. That brings everything out of focus, in my opinion, and I couldn't support that in any form or fashion because of the expense and to me that is government overreach. This, I feel, is the minimum that can be done in this instance, is to require smoke detection. And from listening to the advocates for, I don't think anyone here or anyone that owns a pet will mind if you up your charges and they pay for it. This is consumer driven, and therefore the consumer is going to bear the burden of that. And the consumers, you can't complain about that because this is what you want. And I don't discount that, and I don't mind that either. But you all that are in the pet business, you should recoup your money, because that's what happens when government, and we are government, imposes fees upon you. When it gets put on my business, it gets passed down to the consumer. And I think you all should do that, and I think the consumer will accept that because it's the right thing to do on both sides. So I hope that you all will all come together, because I do think you all have the same goal, that is to take care of your families. And I appreciate the discussion, and I appreciate the civility of it, because I was a little concerned when I had 37 or how many cards I had that this wasn't going to be that way. And I thank you, and I just look forward to this being something positive, because remember, we can look at things every day in a positive or a negative. Let's please see the positives of this and realize that we're all really on the same team. We all really want the same thing. I know the process was not perfect, and for that, I apologize. I wish it would have been perfect, but I think even had it been perfect, we'd have still come to the same conclusion because there's really no other alternative other than do nothing. And I think we're obligated to not do nothing again. That's not what we are. And so thank you for your patience. Thank you for all the input and everyone that has something to do with this. And I just say, you know, we're all on the same team, guys. We're all on the same team. So public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, items of community interest. Mr. Moore.
City Attorney's Office is working on several ordinances having to do with the mobile food units. I hope to bring zoning, health, and safety ordinances to council on February 11th. The park ordinance amendments are taking a little longer, so that will probably not be on the agenda until February 25th, but we are moving forward.
Ms. Snoddy. Ms. Wiggins.
I'm happy to report we had our first comprehensive plan follow-up meeting today. Councilwoman Kristen Ishihara is our chair because we're not liaisons, as we were informed. We're members. Looking forward to information to come about that. Also, Longview TLOD will host Hearts of Love 34th celebration February the 6th at the Summit Club. Tickets are $40 per person. Please see me if you need that. Last but not least, I would like to say a very heartfelt thank you to members of the community for all of your condolences extended to me during the loss of my grandmother, Nettie Mac Pippins. To the mayor, thank you for being there. That meant a lot to me and my family. For those of you who've ever lost someone, you know that the toll that it can take on a family. So thank you for all the many kindnesses different ones of you and staff members have extended to me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Ishihara.
Nothing for me.
Mr. Wright.
Nothing tonight.
We need to excuse Mr. Allen.
Move to excuse Council Member Sidney Allen.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Willard.
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we have the 12th Annual Unity Honors Luncheon, February the 11th at 11:30. This year's honorees are Mrs. Dorothy Walker and Reverend J.D. Palmer. Tickets are $15 per person and are on sale until February the 3rd. The City of Longview is encouraging residents to apply to serve on a variety of council-appointed boards, commissions, and committees. These members advise the council on issues ranging from parks to community development. Residents are encouraged to apply online at longviewtexas.gov. Applications are available at City Hall. Now let's talk about how to contact the city about a problem or concern. We talked about this in the last survey, and I want to thank Terry and the gang for bringing this up and making some slides. I want you all to see how easy this is. Okay, option number one, when you have a problem, call city staff, 237-1000. Option two, use the CitySend app. The CitySend app is a mobile and online service request system. CitySend allows residents to identify issues and report those services requested directly to the City of Longview. Residents can use a photo or a video of potholes, litter, missed trash, and more. Requests may be submitted online or using the smartphone app. It's a great way to contact your city, and it's instant. It's over your phone, it's over the computer. More and more of you all are using it, and more of you should use it because it takes that conversation, those delays out of it, and it's a great tool to get your job done. If it's a big enough issue you feel you need to speak to with the mayor or the council, guess what? Here you go. This is how to contact your city council. You can call 237-1021, and the secretary will give you the phone numbers of your city council district representative, and you all see there we have maps showing where. Oh, geez, the whole map is mine. No wonder I get so many calls. That's what it is. There's Mr. Moore's District 1. You can see the borders. It's very simple to see where you are. District 2 is Ms. Snoddy's. District 3 is Ms. Williams. District 4 is Ms. Ishihara. District 5 is Mr. Wright. And District 6 is Mr. Allen. If you'll use these tools to contact your rep, and I can tell you this, I get a lot of phone calls every day and a lot of emails and a lot of messages that are asking me to do things. And I'm telling the residents the same thing every time because I think that the process has to be consistent. When someone says, can you do this or can you do that, the first thing I say is, have you contacted your council rep? Because these are your liaisons to your district. And they're the ones that are elected to take care of the problems, and I refer you to them, and they should answer your questions and your concerns responsively. And I know that they do because I get great feedback and thanking me for sending them to the council reps, and the reps did a great job. And then if that doesn't work, then call me, okay? But truly, I want to go through the correct process, and I don't want to overstep boundaries because you have 6 very capable representatives that are representing each district of Longview. Give them a chance to do it because that's what I'm doing. I'm giving them a chance to do it, and I don't have any regrets about that. Everyone has always taken care of their business, and I appreciate that very, very much. So use it. You'll see it up here. Use your phones. Let's be technologically advanced. I'm learning slowly. I want to just make a little special or just a shout out, I guess, to Ms. Nona and Ms. Cascia. I just want you two to know what a difference you two are making in your districts. And not that you all aren't, but you all are in the districts where things are really tense. And you all are stepping up, and you all are leaders. And I just want to tell you that I appreciate it, and I guarantee you your constituents appreciate it. And I want you all to keep doing what you're doing. It was so nice to see the recognition for what you did, Nona. Cascia, you're always there. Y'all keep doing what y'all do, okay? Because it's very, very important, and I appreciate it. Okay. Let's see here. Survey time. Not going to come up. Imagine that. Yeah, I know the questions. Okay, and I know the answers too. Here's what's important about the survey this week. First off, thanks for everybody that took the survey. I appreciate that. Once again, we had good response, and it shows that you do care. And the first question was, would you support, if available, a program that would help a gang member that wants out of a gang to relocate? Would you support something like that? And I know it's a vague question, but it wasn't intended to be a solution. It was intended to start discussion. And you know what? The discussion has been very lively, and I appreciate it. Everyone that's commented to me, I thank you for your comments. Whether they were in favor or against doesn't matter. The fact is we're talking. And when we talk, things will happen. And I appreciate that from really more than just sitting up here. I appreciate it from the fact that it shows me the community wants to do something. Now let me ask you a question. We don't have all the answers. And this is not meant to or ever supposed to be the answer. What it was a question to see what are our feelings. And just so you know, over 82% of the population in Longview that responded was totally in favor of this, which that's good. I mean, it shows our hearts are where they're supposed to be in that we want to help people. Now, we don't have the exact mechanism yet. This may never come to fruition. But you know what disturbed me? When I saw a couple of the comments, and I enjoy the comments, whether they're for or against me. I can always gain insight from anybody. But when a comment says, number one, when we remove someone, and I'm not going to use the terms that they use because it's offensive to me, out of Longview, we're just getting rid of our problem, we're failing. You know what? I'm going to say, I'm sorry. If we help one kid out of a situation he needs help out of, Longview wins. And if you don't think one's not good enough, you've never been in that situation. I don't care how many it is, one is good enough for me. And I'm telling you, if we can find solutions. Now, this is just an idea. Will this work? Who knows? But once again, ladies and gentlemen, if we do nothing, we will accomplish nothing. And that is not me. I want to try to do things, maybe think outside the box. I wish I could take credit for this one, but I can't. This was my wife's idea. She brought this up to me, and I thought, wow, why didn't I think of that? You know, I mean, geez, I should be thinking of those things, and I didn't. But I can tell you, it's just discussion, but it's healthy discussion. So keep answering the surveys. Who knows where this will go? Time will tell. But remember, if it helps one kid out of a life that he has no way out of, then we win. We win. And we will win. Second one was, who's going to win the Super Bowl? And this was crazy. I didn't think it'd be that close. Okay. The Carolina Panthers won by 1 percentage point. Then Denver was second, and in 1 percentage point behind the two of those was, I don't care, I just watch TV for the commercials. So it's going to be a great Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to whoever wins, but I can't wait for the commercials as well. One other thing, I would like to recognize Mr. Moser's Kilgore College State and Local Government class that's here. Please stand. Bailey Burns, Justin Bouchard, Thomas Snodgrass, Norman Frazier, Aaron Montalvo, and Joshua Leeden. Is that right? Hey, thank y'all for being here. And I'm sorry you had to come to such a long meeting, but it's good that you were here. These are future leaders, and we appreciate your attendance. Thank you all for showing up tonight. Okay, we're almost through, gang. Book club. How many of y'all have got the book yet? Okay, it's a dandy. You have to get out and read this book. This is going to change the way you think about how you fuel your life, how you fuel your work, how you work with positive energy. And I mean, I don't know if y'all know me much yet, but I'm a positive guy, and this is right up my alley. So I am thrilled that this book is going to be part of our book club. We'll start first Monday of February, and it'll be from 7 to 8 on Facebook. Join in. We've had already, once again, national recognition from the author of this book. Has seen that we're doing this. He's already started putting us on his Facebook and his blog. So once again, Longview's getting some recognition that I think is really good and positive. That's my word. We're positive. We need to show what we have. Okay, the next thing, scholarship fund. We talked about that last meeting. Sean Hara has done a fantastic job of getting with the different schools in town, the counselors. We've come up with a form. It's very simple. You know, I know when you're applying for scholarships, it can be a very onerous thing, and sometimes you just throw your hands up in the air because you can't get through the application process. And this is not meant to be that way. This is a very simple application. It's very simple, basic instruction, and it's only got 2 requirements, as we stated before. You have to have residence inside the city limits of Longview. You have to submit a 1-page essay. And the 1-page essay is just about what can I do to make my town better, or what have I already done to make it better? And that's all I want to know. I want to know what your thoughts are. And we're going to evaluate these in April. We'll award the scholarship in May. And I'm looking forward to reading a bunch of great essays from our high schoolers. So thank you for indulging this, and I look forward to what lies ahead. If there's nothing else, this long meeting is adjourned.